everybody. Thank you for joining me here today. Okay. All right, so for those of you guys who are on, we're going to be talking with Paisley Churchill. Paisley is, hey Hannah. Paisley is, she's the Chief Product Officer at Team CarePal, which is an app that's transforming the caregiving experience and supporting the mental health of millions of unpaid family caregivers. Paisley and I actually met. We both work in the world of mental health and the startup world in tech, and so I'm really happy we found each other. We kind of got talking about our background, why we started mental health, and she has a really compelling personal story, so I'm really excited to have her here today. So I'm going to get her on here. Hello, everybody. I am just bringing Paisley on. Okay, 1 second, everybody. So for those who have just joined, I'm interviewing Paisley Churchill. She's the Chief Product Officer at Team CarePal, which is an app that's transforming the caregiving experience and supporting the mental health of millions of unpaid family caregivers. All right. Oop. I'm just in the process of getting Paisley on here. 1 minute. One second, everybody. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay. In the meantime, if anyone has any questions you'd like me to ask Paisley with regards to mental health, if you're a caregiver, if there's someone that you love that you're taking care of and you are trying to take care of your mental health and you have some questions, please drop them in the comments here and I can have Paisley answer them for you. Okay. Okay. Okay, I think I'm... Okay, let's see if Paisley's on here yet. 1 second. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I just came from Paisley's in Calgary for context, and I am in Toronto. So I just came here out of after my 9 to 5 job in the pouring rain.
It's
So
raining there in
yeah.
the end of October. That doesn't happen out here. It's either snow or freezing
Yeah.
cold.
I know. The weather is quite different. I was just introducing you to our audience, Paisley. For anyone who's just joined, I'm Madison McGregor. I'm the host of Mind Time with Madison here at Team. And today we are talking with Paisley Churchill. Paisley is the Chief Product Officer at Team CarePal, which is an app that's transforming the caregiving experience and supporting the mental health of millions of unpaid family caregivers. So a bit more about Paisley too, is that she has a background in startups, tech, and economic development, and she has helped countless founders turn big ideas into real impact through her company, Tech Translator, which she is joining here today from that account.
Oh, do
And
you want me to join from the CarePal account? Should I
sure,
go? Yeah,
yeah,
sorry. I have
sure,
I
let's
have
do it.
like it's life of an entrepreneur, right? You have 15
Yes, you
accounts.
have a
I'll be right
thousand
back.
different accounts. No worries. I'll see you soon. Thanks for bearing with us, everyone, through these technical difficulties. Okay. Paisley's just joining from Team CarePal. All right, here we are. Hello.
Okay, now we're on the right account. Sorry about
Perfect.
that.
That is all good. I was just, it's okay. I didn't mean to it's good. Okay, great. So, basically, we're here, we're talking about caregiving, and Paisley has a very personal story with this, which is why we wanted to have her on. We actually haven't had anyone talk about this before, Paisley, so we're really excited to have you here with our audience who's very interested in mental health and especially supporting those who are supporting people who are going through really difficult experiences. So, just for our audience, let's just talk a bit about what inspired the creation of Team CarePal and what is your personal story behind it?
Yeah, it's so close to my heart, like you said, and I think it's crazy, like being in this world of caregiving and like being a part of Team CarePal, you realize that everybody has a story. And so the way that Team CarePal started was the founder is a woman named Cindy Sim. She is absolutely incredible, and she came into the app development company that I was working at, and she told us about this idea she had. She had gone through end of life with all of her grandparents and some of her extended family. Her daughter was born at 2.5 pounds, and she did a whole year of really intensive caregiving as a mother with a child with medical needs. And then those end of life journeys. So she came in and she wanted to make that better. She used the words right from the beginning, we want to make it so that nobody cares alone. And
Mm,
I always thought it was an amazing idea right from the beginning when she came in and talked about it, but I didn't really get it. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I think at this time I was probably like 25, 26. So I didn't really get it. I had never been a caregiver myself. That's usually something that happens when you're a little bit older. And then about a year into knowing Cindy and working with her to start her app, my grandma got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And I was so close to my grandma. She was like a second mom to me. I grew up with a single mom. So we were very, very close. And getting that diagnosis was absolutely, it just changed my whole world. Like I lived with her all through university and I saw her more than anyone else in my family. I was the one, I would actually drop my little dog off every morning before I went to work so that they could hang out all day and my dog had some daycare. So I saw my grandma every day, and she was diagnosed. She was stopped. It was really hard for her to talk. And we were like, what happened here? So we thought, maybe it was a stroke. You don't
mm,
ever think it's going to be stage 4 cancer. She was living alone, everything was good. And then within one day, our whole lives were changed. So my uncle, my mom, my aunt, and we're kind of the core care team for her. And really, really lucky that our family, had the means that my uncle didn't, had his own business. He was able to take a step back. My mom was able to kind of take a step back on some of her work too, and I worked from home. So between the three of us, we were really able to be there all the time and take care of her. But it was still so much coordination, so much stress. You're dealing with anticipatory grief. And so going through this process, I really got what Cindy was doing.
mm.
Um, and so about a year had gone by, and she had gone away to try to raise money. We had done like the first initial app stuff. She had gone away, she was raising money, and then it kind of would just all worked out at the same time. I ended up hitting this insane level of burnout. I got fired sitting next to my grandmother
Mm.
in hospice. So my mental health was very bad.
I'm
And
so
at the same
sorry. That is awful.
it was terrible. And then she passed away a few days later. So then I reached out to Cindy, who was just about to start the development on her app, and I was like, I want to be a part of this. This is really needed. I could really see firsthand that caregivers were struggling. Even when they were from families like mine who did have a little bit more resources, like I can't imagine if we were all working full time, if we didn't have, the extra time to navigate the healthcare system, to take her to her appointments, to do all of that needed to be done, to stay with her. Like she was never alone from the time she was diagnosed until she went to hospice. We had to stay with her around the clock, and that's not something that a lot of families could do. She lived in a house that was big enough to be able to accommodate, somebody staying with her at all the time. So I was just counting my blessings every day, even though it was the hardest time of my life. And so it just really made me want to be a part of Team CarePal.
Yeah, it's like I'm like first of all, I'm very sorry, that's such a brutal thing to experience with a loved one. And on top of it, the strain that it puts on your mental health, and then on top of it, you lost your job at the same time, which that's a whole other conversation to unpack. But I think, it reminds me a lot of what I went through with my grandpa. He was diagnosed. He actually was losing his ability to speak as well, and and this is when I was about 22. And he was diagnosed with a very rare condition that was incurable, and it was just his body basically shutting down. And luckily, our family was able to take care of him, and I was not, in the front lines like you were with my grandpa, but I saw them every week. They were our best friends, and I think going through that experience, it's hard to really like, there's no roadmap, there's no guidance, there's no real support out there in education for how to navigate it. And it's so hard. So I
Yeah.
think, for someone who is going through what you went through, like what were like your biggest takeaways from that experience that you think would help someone else, going through that? Because it's just, yeah, like I said, like no one really knows what to do or what the best thing to do is in that situation.
Yeah, well, that is actually why we created Team CarePal. And it was all the things that we wish we had. And it's a free app. So it's not something that we're trying to sell anybody. We get to give this away for free. And we've created a social enterprise model where we sell a communication platform as well to continuing care homes and nonprofits that are big enough to have that communication budget, and hospitals, so organizations that are working with caregivers, but that means we get to offer this app for free. So all of my tips actually kind of tie back to the app, but that's why we put all the features in. So I would say it's interesting that you brought up, you weren't on the front lines, but it impacted you very deeply. You were probably playing an emotional support role to, mom or dad or whoever was doing that care. You're probably texting them asking how you can help. Like, there's so many different roles involved in caring for somebody. And so that's what the app actually does. It brings all of that
Mm,
together in one place. It's like a little mini private Facebook. You can create a community around the loved one. You have a private news feed. You have task lists. So something that's really stressful about being the caregiver, the primary caregiver, and that was actually not me. That was my mom and my uncle were doing that, primary. I was there as much as I could be, but they were her kids.
yeah.
So, one person typically takes charge because, there's a lot to coordinate, and that really is a one person job. So the biggest thing is the biggest tip is helping that person to organize their information in a way that other people can share it and pick up the things. It's so
Mm,
hard the way that, doctor's appointments at that time when it was COVID would only allow one person in. So it's only one person could do the follow ups, only one person heard the information. So what we've done with Team CarePal is try to democratize as much of that information and take the burden off that individual that's taking the lead and create that community around them. So in the Team CarePal app, that primary caregiver would sign up and then add the grandchildren, the cousins, the people, in my grandma's case, the friends back home in
mm,
Saskatchewan, and everyone could be on the app. So instead of texting that already overburdened caregiver, how can I help? How's Nana? What do you need? It's all in one place, so
mm,
they can upload announcements and newsfeed things instead of people texting them. They can put the tasks that they need done that week instead of people asking them, how do I help? Okay, well, I made the list. Somebody needs to mow the lawn or walk the dog. We've also created a caregiver journal where they can put all the voice recording notes of the doctor's appointments. They can take pictures
mm.
of everything. It's kind of set up like a mini Google Docs to be able to collaborate.
So,
Um,
so it sounds a bit like almost like a Slack, but like for a family caregiver where it's like everyone can communicate, everyone's on the same page, and it's designed to prevent overburdening the primary caregiver so that they get the right support.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like that is the biggest takeaway is trying to get some of that information from them, because even doing respite for somebody that's needing round the clock care or offering, do you need to go do some errands? I can come sit with them. Well, if you don't know their medication schedule and what to do if this happens and what foods they're eating and all of that, it's stressful on the primary caregiver to just download that information. So if from day
Mm.
one they're using an app to set that up, they can just add more and more people.
Mm. And like so when you were going through this process with your family or even just things you've noticed working at Team CarePal, like what are some of the things that like you've heard like some like things to say and things not to say to someone, who is a primary caregiver who's taking care of a loved one who is dying. Like what are your tips on that? Because I think in those situations, even if it's a friend who knows that their friend is going through this, I think a lot of times people are kind of like not sure what to say. They don't say anything. Am I just gonna like, do I ask how the loved one's do or how they're doing, how the loved one's doing? Do I try to keep it normal? Like what would your advice be for a friend who is trying to support their friend whose loved one is dying and that they're, taking care of?
Yeah, that's such a good question. And I mean, I'm definitely not the authority on it. But just being around a lot of caregivers that, have been on these journeys, sometimes with loved ones that have been in the trenches for like 10 years, I hear a lot of times like, don't ask me what I need. And that resonates with me too, because
Mm.
that's putting mental burden on. So something like a Team CarePal app where they can log their chores is really
Mhm.
nice so that you can do those things. It's like, try to notice what they need. And if you can't think of something, send a Skip the Dishes gift card, come by with food, send an Amazon gift card. Like those are the things that you can really do to help, asking them how they can help. Like unless you're really, really close, it's not that helpful because then they
Mhm.
need to figure out what they need, how they can delegate it. It's like everybody needs food, everybody needs, care products. Those are things you can find on Amazon. Like those are really nice little touches,
Mm.
but it is hard if you're not involved in everything to then just pick up little pieces. But that's
Yeah.
kind of the same with anything, whether it's work or, you know, any sort of task. It's the burden of telling somebody all the things.
I see. So it's kind of providing things that that person would need, that, basic stuff. Like it reminds me of the day my grandpa died, our cousin's aunt came over and brought like this huge amount of food. It was just like
Yes.
lunch, and it was just such a nice gesture because we were all not thinking about that, obviously, so I think that, that resonates for me, like in addition to as well. So I think, yeah, I think that's great. And then like if so what this might be getting a bit in the weeds here, but if I know my friend's mother, for example, is sick and not doing, maybe it's not end of life, but maybe it's like they're not doing great. And I
Mhm.
don't know, well, like I don't know if you have experience with this, but like what would you say for someone? Because I think it's like such a difficult thing for people to, especially I think if someone who hasn't experienced it before and you're a friend and you haven't been through this, it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
intuit what that person would need. So like, how would you navigate that situation of like just checking in? Like, how do you check in? How do you just say, hey, like I'm thinking about you, how are you doing?
Yeah, it's so hard too because that's also, it can be hard to even reply to a lot of that
Yeah,
because a lot of people are reaching out. So I think just a
right.
message, like very, like not even asking them how they're doing. I don't like, they're probably not doing well. And constantly being asked that, they're probably either just going to say, I'm good, or, they're going to trauma dump and they probably don't need to always be bringing that to the surface. So I think just sending a text being like, I know you're going through everything. Like, I know what you're going through is really hard. You don't have to reply. Just know that I'm thinking about you and I'm here. And everyone has different budgets. If you are able to send even a $20, Amazon gift card or Skip the Dishes gift card, that was one of the best things people did. Like when, somebody sent me $100 Skip the Dishes gift card, and then I didn't have to think about what we were going to eat that night when I slept over at my grandma's that night. It was just nice to just be there and relax. Or, um, something maybe not to do is, I think it was meant with really good intentions, but I had a few people send gifts for my grandma, but she was gonna die in 2 months. So we were like, thank you, but I don't
But
know
you
what
can't
to
even
do.
use them really.
Yeah, like it
Yeah.
was a very nice thing to do, but it's like, oh, it's morbid, but you're like, she's gonna she's gonna be dead in 2 months, and then I have to do something with this thing that I don't know what to
Mm.
do with. So like it's really nice to send PJs if they're still wearing, like, if, depending
Yeah.
on where they're at, or slippers, or like nice warm cozy things. But like as far as sending books or different things, it's kind of more of just a sad thing to get these things and to
Mm.
be like, what do I do with this?
Yeah, no, true. And like I appreciate you sharing that because I think like that's something that just people don't talk about enough. Like even the simple thing of like not asking them how they're doing, but just saying I'm thinking about you and you don't have to
Hmm.
respond, I think is huge because I think a lot of times, there's the intention and then there's the impact. And I think
Hmm.
what we're trying to figure out at team is, we have good intentions, but what is actually going to create the impact we want? Because I think sometimes when someone sends a gift or stuff like you're saying, it's like they think that's the right thing, they have good intentions, but it's not actually helping, it's not actually
Yeah.
having the impact, right? So I appreciate you sharing that because that's really what the gap is. I feel like for a lot of these things that people don't talk about. And like, do you feel like, in your experience with this, do you feel like there is a stigma around talking about end of life or around people who are going through it? And like, what do you think needs to change there? Do you think it's just more conversations like this that kind of normalize it for people and kind of sharing a bit that way?
I think especially in the workplace, people don't talk about it. And there's actual studies and research that shows that people, if they're especially in a chronic caregiving situation, like maybe it's not end of life, but maybe they have a mom with dementia or,
Mm,
with a longer term illness living at their house, they don't tell their employers and they don't tell people because they don't want to be seen as somebody who won't be able to be present at work.
yeah.
So I think people don't talk about it as much, but especially working with Team CarePal, I hear these stories all the time and people telling me about their journeys and what they're currently going through. So I think it's important that it's more of a conversation in the workplace. And we've taken a lot of strides in being there for parents and, letting, more flexible work arrangements where people can leave early to pick up their kids or, so we're really getting a lot better on the parents front, but we're not getting better on the caregiving front, where it's
Mm,
still kind of taboo, and it shouldn't be like that. Because I remember working so hard in those last couple months leading up to my grandma's death. I was working at a tech company, crunch time, like
yeah.
growing company, and I can never get those hours back. And even though I did get fired at the end, they were very supportive, for a lot of it, and they did let me work from hospice. And it just kind of reached a level that it wasn't good on either side. um, and it was a lot to do with that situation. So I would
Mm,
say at a certain point they probably should have been like, hey Paisley, you should go on leave. Like they should have noticed the signs
right.
of like intense,
Yeah.
like mania almost, where like
Yeah.
you can't be working 12 hours a day from hospice with your best friend
Mm.
dying. It's just not
No,
possible.
no, exactly. No, and I think like that's something that even like I know where I'm working too, like there is that option to take the leave if if
Hmm.
you're so I think yeah, like that's a great point you've brought up of making that like making employers and in workspaces more aware of that so that they can recognize those signs in their employees.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so important. And just having more of those conversations and writing them into the policies at a base level. Like putting your stake in the sand and saying, we are a workplace that supports this. Because there was a really good report that was published that said, and similar to my situation, my boss was really good with me, and I got to, have a flexible schedule, work from the hospice and that kind of thing. But that was a one-off basis. That wasn't like widely shared, like, hey, if you need this. And so it can be hard to ask for those. I'm great at advocating for myself. I'm always going to ask. But a lot of people aren't. And depending on your financial situation, you might be scared to lose your job to the point where you won't share that information. So I just think it's so important that workplaces let people know this is our policy, this is what you should do. And then instead of getting to a point where an employee gets fired, say, like, we're noticing the signs. This is not
Mm,
you. This is like burnout and just another level.
yeah.
How about we how about we do like a leave or talk about this before it gets any further?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, like it's like noticing the warning signs before it hits the burnout and the crash.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so smart. It's so crazy that that's not a thing.
It's not.
Like,
And did you know 1 in 4 people is a family caregiver? Of course, it's
wow.
skewed a little bit older, but this
Yeah,
is not just something that is like a small issue. Most of my stats are going to be from Canada, but 90% of community care happens from unpaid family caregivers.
Mm,
Women are twice as likely to leave the workforce when a family member is ill to do
wow.
that caretaking. Um, Generations are up to like 1 in 2 of them are family caregivers. And dealing with
Wow.
that mental burden, there's something called anticipatory grief, where
Mm,
you're grieving, but the person's still alive. So not only are you grieving, you're caregiving, it's taking up a lot of mental space and it's hard to do a lot of your work. So you see productivity go down. And there's actually a ton of stats that show the burden on the healthcare system from caregivers, because if you caregive long enough, your stress levels are high enough that you're more likely to be hospitalized. So it's this
wow.
vicious cycle.
Yeah.
And yeah, the last one that I'll share is
Yeah. No, no.
1 in 9 care beds in Canada is full because the family caregiver was unsupported or needed more
Wow.
support. So we could actually keep more people aging in place if we were better taking care of the needs of the family caregivers.
Wow. And I am not surprised by that. Like I know that's a crazy statistic and number there, but like that is not surprising at all because I know at least like three people who are primary family caregivers right now and they
Yeah.
are burnt out. They're like struggling. Like we talk about that at team too with mental health. Like if you're supporting a loved one with mental health, you actually need to take care of your mental health because like it's so easy for that caregiver to burn out. So like for someone who is a caregiver, like what would you say to them? Like how can they recognize the signs of burnout in themselves? Like how can they prioritize taking care of
I'm so
themselves as they are? Yeah. What?
I'm so glad you asked.
Okay,
So the
good.
Team CarePal app, the free app, also has a burnout assessment in it. So once a week, you're
Oh.
prompted as a caregiver to go in and fill out this quick 30-second question or 30 question questionnaire. It takes about 5 minutes. And it's actually the standard that they use to diagnose burnout. So it's called the Caregiver Burden Inventory Assessment. And
Mm,
it ranks you score things from I think 1 to 5 on 6 different dimensions, like your physical health. It talks about like, are you resenting your loved one? Because like those are different indicators that you're reaching burnout. Is your social structures, failing? So it has all these
mm,
different questions, and then we also ask the number of hours of care you're providing a week, because we know that statistically over 20 hours of care a week, you have much higher risk of burnout and depression. And then
wow.
we have an AI chatbot that then takes that information. It takes some of information that you gave them at sign up, like the condition of your patient, your age, your location, and it provides you resources of what you
Amazing.
can do to mitigate some of that. And even resources aside, just seeing your burnout levels over time and having
Mhm.
that tool to better advocate for yourself to your employer, to your doctor, to whoever, and just like awareness is the first piece of that. So I think that burnout assessment is huge just in checking in with yourself.
That's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that you have that. Like that is like awesome. I wish I had that when I was, going through that with my grandpa because it's true you can kind of lose track. Like I remember having a conversation with someone about burnout and they were like, actually this happens with a lot of people where you don't realize it's happened until you're in it. And then that's when
Yeah.
it becomes like this crisis situation. So this is a great way for people to prevent that burnout and take care of themselves. And like you said, it's about the awareness and how that enables those people to advocate for themselves and get the right care. So that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. That's so cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an important feature. And then our chatbot just keeps getting better. We have tons of resources across Canada in it. It can be really hard to find the resources that you need as a caregiver. Half of the burden is just navigating the healthcare system. So we really try with our app and our chatbot to be able to direct people based on their condition, their age. There's all these great support groups. There's things like Siblings Canada, which is for sibling caregivers, like especially with developmental delays and things. So you'll have these 40-year-old siblings that'll live together. Maybe the parents have passed on, and now the sibling becomes the primary caregiver. There's actually a young caregiver support group. So we're able to kind of take your demographic information, the age, like what patient you're taking care of, and then kind of point you in these right directions that you might not be able to find on your own. It's
That's
really,
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like something that's also coming to my head that's it's not a major pivot, but I think with Team CarePal is are there things that like are you guys connected to employers or talking to employers and how they can better help their employees go through this or like are those conversations happening at all?
We would love to be, but there's just no avenues in. And part of it is the way that employee benefits are set up. We've
Mm,
talked to tons of benefit companies, and they're only able to do like, I think one of them told us 3 to 4 cents a month per employee. And
whoa.
that's because they're putting together these huge benefit packages. And then so when we try to go outside of the benefits packages, to cover just the training costs. Like again, we're a social enterprise. We're not trying to make $1 million, but we do have a HIPAA compliant platform that does cost a lot to build and to
Mm,
maintain. And then, training costs and those types of things. It adds up quickly, and
yeah.
employers just aren't willing to pay for it. We tried that as a market segment. We've had to pivot so many times to figure out how to make this social cause sustainable. And unfortunately, we just couldn't make it work. And we would love to, though, because we're really passionate about it. But we need to first hit sustainability before we can really move into to put some resources towards that.
It's the next phase.
Yeah, but it is interesting because I love being able to explain some of those economics behind the decisions that we make
Yeah.
because as a social enterprise, you have to hit sustainability if you want to help anyone.
No, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I appreciate you sharing that because it's true. Like, there's not a lot of transparency around that. So, no, that's great to know. And I think I'm just checking our time here, Paisley, because I
Yeah.
know.
Well, I do have some little tiny furry co-guests that would like to come inside, so I'm going to very quickly.
Okay.
And they're wearing sweaters.
Oh my God. So cute.
Are you guys ready? Winnie, do you want to be on Instagram Live? Oh, there he is.
Hello. Hello. I think it's so cute that you're bringing the dog in the chat because that's something we talk about at team of like how pets impact your mental health and like
And
help you
like,
get through hard things. Like it's very on theme.
oh, well, I have a
Hello.
funny story. So my other dog who ran to the front room, but we had her first, and she was the dog that I brought every morning to my grandma's house.
Aw.
And then she got sick and, of course, couldn't watch the dog anymore. So then we bought this boy to keep her company. And he was the worst puppy anyone has ever experienced in their lives. He was so bad. Don't lick me. He was so bad. It was like the most stressful time of my life with caring for my grandma. And then we had this puppy that literally ate everything, peed on everything. It was so bad. We literally were like, what do we do with this dog? We almost were like, I think we have to tap out and find him a
Yeah.
different home. And then he got perfect. He's like, he could hear us talking and he just got he
Aw.
got perfect. So,
He knew.
but literally,
Oh,
we have him because of that journey because we needed another
yeah.
dog.
No, seriously, dogs honestly are like the best support sometimes. Hi, buddy.
When they're not
Oh,
eating everything.
yeah, when they're not being a menace. Well, I think this has been such a fun conversation, Paisley. Is there anything else you'd like to share that we haven't talked about?
um, just, yeah, like mental health for caregiving is just something that I think is so overlooked. And I just think that if you know anybody going through a caregiving journey, reach out to them, tell them about the Team CarePal app. Maybe it'll be helpful for them. Check in, but not in kind of a putting any burden on them to tell you what they need or, pry too much. Just let them know that you're there. And yeah, I think it's just something I'm like really glad we were able to have this conversation. It's
Same,
just
yeah.
an issue that impacts so many people. And I really want more people to be aware of caregiving. It's one of the biggest social issues that no one talks about.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks. I feel like I learned a lot from this conversation, and I know that our audience got some value out of this too, for sure. And just to reiterate for anyone listening, Team CarePal, we're going to co-post with them after this, so you can take a look at their their page and see what they're all about and download their app. And if you know someone who's supporting a loved one through end of life, please share this with them. I'm sure it'll make a really big difference for them. And thanks for this chat, Paisley. I really appreciate it
Yeah,
so much.
thanks,
Thanks for taking the
Madison.
time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.